wisdom
touched you yet.
I am young, but something you may deserve of him through me and wisdom, to offer up a weak, poor, innocent lamb to appease an angry God. I am not treacherous, but Macbeth is. A good and virtuous nation may recoil in an imperial charge, but I shall crave your pardon. That which you are my thoughts cannot transpose. Angels are bright still. Though the brightest veil, to rule all things foul, will wear the brows of grace. Yet grace must still look so. I have lost my hope. Perchance, even there, where I did find my doubts, why that rawness left you wife and child, those precious motives, those strong doubts of love, I'll be taking.
I pray you.
Yo, my people, what up, what up, what up, what up? Let me start this daggone camera. Yeah. Welcome to yet another episode of ADQ's Renaissance. I'm your host with the most, keeping 100 from coast to coast through God our host, ADQ. It is Thursday, March the, daggone, I'm so bad with the date. March the 18th. 2021. It is Thursday, March the 18th, 2021. God is great. I am on here and I am ready to get into some good game and stuff. Like tonight, we're just sitting back and we're talking theater. We are going to talk the theater. Who am I going to talk the theater with? Because I'm not going to sit here and talk by myself. I am going to be talking theater with my good friend, Chris Veneris. He is, dang it, I don't know where Chris is from. Chris, where are you from?
Originally Eastern North Carolina, but been in Greensboro for a long time now.
Originally from Eastern North Carolina, UNCG, Greensboro grad, theater teacher over at Grimsley High School.
Nope, that's Ringrose. I'm at Southeast Guilford High School.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my
God. You got
God.
me and Ringrose mixed up.
I see y'all together so daggone much. All right, I'll tell you what, Chris. I'll tell you what. No one knows you better than God and you, so you tell people about you.
Oh, sure. Like ADQ said, Chris Veneris, theater teacher at Southeast Guilford High School, and resident actor with Shared Radiance Performing Arts Company, and a state director with North Carolina Thespians. So a little bit of everything.
So I gotta tell you, every time I'm around you, I get this Shakespearean energy, this Shakespearean theatrical energy. Like, also, Chris is going to quote something on me. But anyway, how you doing today, Chris?
I'm doing good, man. Glad the weather did not turn out to be as bad as we thought, and thought we were going to have to push this one back.
Yeah, you and me both. But we are doing this, and also I did something else theatrical. I did the first meeting for the new play now, man. Mayhem at the Masquerade. I gotta get the name of the play right. Mayhem at the Masquerade, which will be put on by CTG. Details will be followed after this telecast. Now,
nice.
Chris, I gotta know, at what point did you decide, you know what, I want to get in theater?
Oh, that started when I was a young kid. I saw my first show that I remember seeing. I was probably 3. It was a local community theater production back home, Music Man. I remember falling asleep midway through Act 1. My dad was playing the lead. And when I got home, as it was told to me, I begged my dad to let me go and be on stage with them. At 5, I finally broke my parents down, auditioned for my first show, and as they say, the rest is history. So ever since I was 5, I have done at least one show, either acted, directed, produced, designed, technical crew since the time I was 5.
Okay, so first of all, you fell asleep during the Music Man.
Yeah, I was 3. It was
I don't
past
care.
my bedtime.
It's still the Music Man. Okay, so I have a memory of the Music Man. As you can see right there, if you can see it, that's a poster saying that I was in the Music Man, Saying Last Playhouse 2013. You want to know what I was doing in Music Man?
What?
I was doing this. He's just a bang beat, bell ringing, big old great gold nigga, another rip roaring. Every time bullseye salesman. That's Professor Arrow Hill. Arrow Hill. Woo! I'm saying that really fast. So, like, and so what role did your dad play in it?
Oh, he was the lead, whatever the lead is. Look, I have never forgiven that show for putting me to sleep. So, as 3. I really don't know the show that well, other than that the capital T is trouble right here in Rivertown. And Gary, Indiana, Indiana, Indiana. Like, that's all I remember from that show. It's actually not a show I'm very familiar with. I like a lot of older musicals. That is not one of them.
Well, I mean, come on, Rock Island. I mean, Rock Island was kind of like the Hamilton before Hamilton. They were rapping, basically. Well, hold the Wells Fargo wagon is a coming down the street. Anyway, you taking me back. You taking me way back. So I remember there have been like casting calls that you would have where you would say, we're not musical theater people, we're Shakespeare people. So you basically decided from a young age, yeah, much love to musical theater, but that ain't my tribe.
No, I really did I love watching musicals. I just don't like the Music Man. And the more I get behind stuff, the more I'm like, musicals need to be updated. And we need some more musicals. But no, I love musical theater. I love musicals. It's probably why I like Shakespeare. I just was never a real strong singer. So I did all the musicals. I was in the chorus. I was never going to be a lead. Shakespeare has a musical language to it. It has a musical feel. It has a beat. It has a rhythm to it. But no, I love musicals. When I just started doing Shakespeare, I just fell in love with it, like I kind of did with the theater. It was almost like falling in love with the theater again when I first got into Shakespeare.
So before we jump into Shakespeare, you said that there's some old musicals that you do like. What are they?
I've directed a lot of old ones. The first one I ever did was Oliver, which is an older one. I love the early like the golden age of Broadway. Most Rodgers and Hammerstein I do love. Most Lerner and Lowe. I'm absolutely adore Cole Porter. I've directed a lot of the older ones and had a lot of fun with it. I've been lucky enough to direct Sound of Music. I've directed Oliver, directed Fiddler on the Roof, which is still one of my favorite, and still probably getting up in the age now where it won't be too much longer and I'll be too old to play Tevye, but that's a dream role for me. And for someone who, with my singing range, which is limited, Tevye is still a dream role for me as an actor. But like a lot of the old musicals, they're problematic these days, to say the least.
Really, you think so?
I think, somewhat. I mean, I know this is theater, so I don't want to get political discussion, but yeah, I think there are some things that if we don't look through it, if we try to look through it with our modern day glasses and knowing what is bad and truly understanding what's right and wrong, then we look at these caricatures, especially of Black and Indigenous and other people of color. They just really, some of them were overtly racist. There wasn't any diet racism in them. They were overtly racist in some of their caricatures. Especially, you look at one of my favorite musicals, which is Anything Goes, which is really kind of a Cole Porter review in some instance. It uses a lot of his music from other musicals. I mean, there are 2 Chinese gamblers that end up on the ship, and the dialogue is written in a very stereotypical racist American playing a Chinese person.
For one thing, here on ADQ's Renaissance, we keep it 100. So if it gets political, it gets political.
Okay.
So it's funny you mentioned that because on I think it's Love Boat, Showboat. I think you know what I'm talking about. That the joint that includes the song "Can't Help Loving That Man of Mine."
Yep.
Sound for me? What's the name of it?
Yeah.
Love Boat, Showboat.
Showboat.
Okay, so Paul Robeson, whom I love, who has a powerful voice, and I hope to be able to use my voice the way he kind of similar like he did. However, when you listen to Old Man River, dang, sound like you're talking about slavery, right?
Yeah.
When you I laugh at it, but it's not funny. When you look at when they were singing Can't Help Loving That Man of Mine, the black maid up in there look like Mammy. So you're right.
Yeah, I mean, but it's stuff that, coming at it from my point of view, I didn't see it. It took me training myself as an artist, as a theater creator, as a director, to start to recognize some of these things. And a lot of it comes from people calling you out. And it's in theater, we have to be uncomfortable with those conversations to change it. The theater community, somebody once put it to me, the theater community, especially the white theater community, likes to think itself real progressive, but real progressive for like 1996, not for 2021. And the theater community has to quit using a lot of the terms we used when we thought we were woke. Terms like colorblind casting and stuff. No, because we can see people's color. You can't be colorblind. You clearly see that I'm a white dude. You clearly see that you're a black man. I mean, there is no colorblind there, but it's going beyond that. And as a theater practitioner, understanding that you've got to be, as a white theater practitioner, you have to be mindful. You have to do your research. You have to start to try to, not that you can ever walk a mile in a BIPOC's shoes. And for those of you who don't know, Black, Indigenous, person of color is what I mean when I say BIPOC. We have to look at that idea, and we have to be able to see that we can't be asking every person of color, every Black person, every Indigenous person, their ideas, and is this all right? We got to do our research too, to make theater truly what we want it to be and what we say we want it to be, which is all inclusive, and to really include everybody into that theater. And those old musicals, like you were saying, that show Showboat, it's one of the main storylines behind it is miscegenation, which is, for any of your listeners out there that doesn't know what that is, it was a law that was on the book, not just in the southern states, but throughout most of the U.S., where people of 2 different races could not be married. I mean, that wasn't till, I can't remember the exact dates, and as a history person, kind of kills me right now. But I don't think it was until, it 50s or 60s, maybe even mid to late 60s, when Virginia versus Loving was ruled on. But yeah.
Wow. So tell me this. Dang it, I hate when I say
It's all good.
But tell me this. Okay, so I like how when Hamilton first dropped, right?
Yeah.
I was really digging how Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote it to where, Black people were playing the founding fathers, right? But then you remember this past summer when it dropped on Disney Plus, There was actually a little backlash because people have come to realize that these are people, yeah, they're being played by black people, but they were slave owners, right?
Right.
Also, there's a bit of a double standard going on because, okay, I was once in Annie Get Your Gun. I was cast as Charlie Davenport, which is clearly a role written for a white guy, right?
Yeah.
But let's see. If you put a white guy up in Porgy and Bess and have him going, I got plenty of nothing.
No. Oh my God. Please don't. Please don't. Any director out there, never cast white people in Porgy and Bess. No.
So what do you think about? So what do you think about that double standard right there?
I think it's also a lot of what's going on. I think it's a double standard that's always going to be there. I think people are more having problems with Hamilton dropping. Their problems were more with the fact that Hamilton is glorified in the musical. So is his father, Schuyler, or father-in-law. Sorry, yeah. It's they're glorifying these people without talking about the bad. I was actually in a discussion talking with somebody earlier today, that we have to. It's not that we can't say that there are good things about this country and what's happened, but we can't ignore all the bad that has happened. I mean, let's be honest. This country, our nation's capital, was built on the backs of black and brown labor. Free black and brown labor. I mean, it was slaves built this country. I mean, but we don't want to have those conversations yet. We don't want to have, and we don't want to have those conversations in theater because theater people, for the most part, see themselves as very progressive, very forward thinking. They like to think of themselves as woke. I mean, and they like to take that word and say, yeah, I'm woke. I do this, that, and the other. But in the long run, the proof is truly in the pudding. Are you trying to get shows and that are written by black and brown people? Are you looking to cast black and brown actors in roles that they're not traditionally written for them and weren't traditionally thought about when these roles were written? Are you trying to, I mean, it's listening to everything out there, and this is just one of those things that's it's either there or it's not, and the proof is in the pudding. Are you casting people? Are you not just casting an word that is people try to get away from but is still being used? Are you tokenizing this one child to show that you have diversity and everybody else is paler than a piece of snow? I mean, that's really where it is in theater right now, and I think there is still a double standard. When I was at UNCG, a professor I looked up to refused to think of any people of color, any black people, any brown people, whatever, to cast in Sound of Music, simply because she wanted to keep it historically accurate. And there were black actors and black theater people in the school, in the department, that got up and walked out of the show because she dropped SWAT Nazi flags from the ceiling during that part in the show, in the second half of Sound of Music, to make people feel that uncomfortableness. There, while I don't think theater should back away from making people feel uncomfortable, there's a point in time that you have to have understanding that these shows still have messages, whether you put other people, other races into these shows. I mean, But that's me.
Okay, so so real quick, and then we're going to move on to a more lighter subject.
Sure.
Like this professor that you looked up to, you do not have to say their name, but how long have they been there?
They are no longer there, and haven't been for a long time. They retired, I want to say, just a couple of years after I graduated. But they had been there a while, and they were older. They were an older person. They were very well loved. But their idea of keeping something historically accurate really hit wrong with a lot of people in the department, especially the Black students in the department. It wasn't a very diverse department.
I'm laughing because it wasn't diverse at all. The faculty wasn't diverse when I was there.
No, and I will say this, and I will be very happy to say that it's changing. I don't know if you saw, but their new head of the department is a Black woman, very outspoken. Her name's Natalie Soul, fantastic person. I was lucky enough to travel the state with her when we did Hansel and Gretel. She was our company manager, but she's very outspoken about what she believes, very outspoken on racial equality and equitability. And she was one of the people that brought up that. And I was still at a learning point, and I can remember having talks about it. And she was one that kind of opened my eyes to how racially insensitive, if not downright racist, that idea was, that it had to be cast historically accurate. Because let's be honest, most of the shows out there were written by white people, and they're typically written from a white person's perspective. I mean, there are more coming about, but we don't encourage enough our Black and Indigenous and people of color to write for theater and to write their truth, so you don't see it as much. I know for a fact that, I mean, you are definitely a playwright and an up and coming one. You've written a lot of stuff. You've gotten to have a lot of your stuff produced, and that's what we need. We need more. We don't need more BIPOC people writing. We need more BIPOC people getting published. And we got to break down, and somebody's got to break down those barriers.
Well, me as I'm writing, I'm asking myself, do I want to look for a publisher, or do I want to publish myself? You know, because I think there's a very slim sector of the of society who could understand by reading exactly what's going on in my crazy brain, in my crazy Virgo brain. As far as historically casting, I'm with that, but one theater company once took that a little too far with me and cast me as a Nazi.
That's again where you got to know your audience.
Yeah.
And know the people that you are working. Unless if they were trying to make some really strange thought, like strange idea, that's not something you really think about doing.
Hitler would took one look at me and would have me lynched for a good 24 hours, then cut me down and threw me in the oven. But on a lighter note, Rosina Whitfield is about to retire. Her last show is coming up. I wanted to bring up Rosina because Rosina has been very instrumental to my own theater career. Every time I've worked with her, she's put a crown on my head. You know what I'm saying? King Midas, A Midsummer Night's Dream, Hamlet, the latter two, which you also directed. What's been your experience working with Rosina?
I've always enjoyed working with Rosina. We get along, we talk, I wish we had talked more recently, but with everything going on, really haven't. But no, we've always gotten along, always had a good working relationship. We could share ideas, we'd listen to each other, and I think that's part of a good working relationship.
I remember once. I remember once after a rehearsal, you gave like really detailed notes, and I want you to know that has affected how I direct. I knew that a lot of people in community theater, when you ask how I do, they say, "Hey, great, you did great. Now go on somewhere." But you gave like really concise notes and really detailed notes. How do you find? How do you find like what works when directing a production?
Well, for me, it depends on what space I'm in, where I'm at directing, and it depends on if you think, honestly, if you feel like the actor just needs fine tuning, which comes with more detailed, more broken down notes, or if you're at a point where you just have to give very basic notes, like, oh, I couldn't hear you the whole show, so I don't know whether I can give you more notes. So my note to you is project, let me hear you, I got to hear you first. Or if I can't understand the actor, it becomes something like, okay, I need to work with you on articulation. A lot of that just comes from being a teacher at heart. I mean, the notes and all, it comes from being in a place of education. And all my life, I mean, I was around education as my dad's best friend was a theater teacher, was my theater teacher. Um, just having that education mindset, I guess, of people don't learn unless if you tell them, unless if you talk, not tell them, but talk to them, lead them, give them things to think about. It's directing, and I used to not be that way. When I first started directing, oh my God, goodness, I yelled. It was my way or the highway. It wasn't anything, but that's
We
just
all do
youth.
that.
That's youth. It's youth. It's learning, and it's how we handle stress. I handle stress a little bit differently than other people handle stress. I yell. Other people don't yell. I mean, it's it's who I am, and then to a point, it becomes sometimes even you become a caricature of your own self that they expect you to do it, so they wait for it, and then you do it. They're like, ah, there it is. Then we know we're getting close to the end, and we know he's snapped. Now we can get back on track. But it changes each year. This year, or like the last musical I directed, I was so my kid, the students didn't even realize. They were like, oh, he's not even exploded, not once, because it's different. You older, like a lot of people get older, they get more wound up, more tight. Me, I'm just getting more mellow. I am. It's not worth having a heart attack over. It's you want the best product, and maybe I'd feel that differently. Well, no, I didn't. I've directed professional, like with actors that were paid and a professional directing gig, and didn't change. I got upset over things, but it's how you speak to people and it's learning your voice. I naturally have a stronger voice, and the different people that come through too. Like some people, and it took me a long time to realize this, some people you can't yell at. If you yell at, they're going to break. And you're never going to get anything from them. You're just So it's finding ways to talk to people. I think that was with you early on. I was getting frustrated. I think first time I directed you in Henry, was it Henry 4 was the first time I directed you?
Yeah, King Henry the Fourth Part One, I
One.
think.
Yeah. And it was, you were struggling with something and we weren't communicating well. And we finally sat down and talked. I think that was really the first start of our actual true friendship was we sat down and talked. And once I started to learn, oh, well, no wonder he doesn't respond well to me yelling at him, and duh. And I understand that now because I'm in the position of power. Like, that's something that really brought an eye to me, and really I mean, even like circle it back around to like the first topic is it's learning, like, and it's not just you, but it's other people and younger people, especially some of my younger students, they get yelled at all the time. And getting it from me, they just shut down because that's their defense mechanism from being kids and being yelled at. And then you learn and you go, oh, okay, that's why you shut down. It's not that you don't care. It's not that you didn't want to do better or do something. That's your defense mechanism. Okay, we've got to find a different way. And we make mistakes. We all do. We're human. And that's a mistake that I made at a time. So, yeah.
You know, a lot of us make mistakes when it comes to communicating with kids, especially those of us who have Black kids in our lives. But there is a way, segue here. There is a way to get some guidance on how to talk to young Black boys, and that is with this book, A Marginalized Voice. If you have a Black boy in your life, you all need to check this out. There is things in here that help you with talking to Black boys, because we are on that. The system is trying to get us on that school to prison pipeline. Now we gotta get up off of it. I made it off of it. We gotta get our young kings involved with that. How to order it is in the link. A Marginalized Voice by Mr. Reginald Williams. Check it out. You'll love it. Now, back to kicking it with Chris. Now, oh, that's for you too. I'm pretty sure you got some Black boys in your class who are trying to.
Oh, a ton. It's actually been it's really been a great change at my school. When I started at my school, it was predominantly white and a mixture of white, upper middle class and lower, but it was predominantly white. And now the diversity is really changing as they've redrawn borders. There are kids that are equally distanced from our school in Dudley that are actually in our district. And it has truly, it's changed how I thought about theater, how I work in theater. But yeah, that is definitely a group for any teachers that are listening, or anybody that deals with youth, especially if you are white. You can't yell. Like, that's something that I've had to learn, and I had to bite my tongue on several times, because I can't live their life. I can't see. I will never understand what it is to be a Black man in America. And so for me to try to tell somebody that, oh yeah, they're a student just like any other student, they're going to be treated like every other student to an extent, but there's certain things you cannot say, and there's certain things as a director and as an educator, I surely will not talk to my Black students in that same way, because then I'm just perpetuating, like you were just talking about, that school to prison pipeline, that idea that of, and you got to be mindful about it. Like, I mean, truly be mindful about how often and when you use discipline. And that's always been, for me, I will say it's one thing that I very rarely do. I can count on, I've been in education 17 years now, and I can count on my two hands the total number of write-up forms I've written over those nearly 2 decades of being in the school system, where there are teachers who are just starting out that have surpassed their fingers and toes in their first 2 years. And that's about classroom management skills. But it's also about understanding how you talk to one student isn't how you can talk to the next student. That everybody comes from a different place. And going back to the directing thing, that's a huge thing with me. It's just directing, is making sure you can talk to each actor and each crew person individually, but also communicate to the group at the same time and make sure that everybody gets your message.
I think that as somebody who's also directed and who also works in the school system, and I'm sure you will agree with me on this. You're the directing teacher. You're in a leadership role, and what you have to do is like do the legwork to understand and know and be familiar with each individual person.
Right.
That
Absolutely.
way you'll be able to serve each individual person instead of just, glossing over everybody. Like say you cast me in a production with, I'll use Chauncey Miller as an example. I know you know Chauncey,
Yeah.
right? Okay. I'm quite sure that Chauncey and I have two completely different acting styles. However, anybody who is not worth their salt would be like, okay, Chauncey's a black man, Adrian's a black man. They're kind of like within the same age range. I'm going to give them the same exact note. They can play the same exact character. Well, we can play the same exact character, but we will play it vastly differently, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And y'all study theater at different ways, in different methods. You have completely different personalities, but that's like saying me and Matt are the same person too. It's like nobody would ever look at Matt and I and say we're the same person, other than we're white guys that wear glasses and have beards. Like, I mean, that's completely different backgrounds, completely different styles of acting and all. But yeah, no, I think that would be considered a lazy teacher and a lazy director at that point, to
They're
think
out
that
there.
there are. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm not saying they're not, because there definitely are. There definitely are in a city like Greensboro that see it. But it's completely different, and how I could communicate with Chauncey would be differently than how I could communicate with you. Chauncey, I worked with him. Was it October of last year? He directed Julius Caesar for Shared Radiance.
See, I could
I
never do
played
that.
Caesar. Fantastic job as director, but he's a lot different director than other people I've worked with. He has a different way about him. I dug it. I really did.
See, like I said, I can never do that. See, when I look at Shakespeare plays, first of all, you got the fact that I'm not even a Shakespeare fan. And you look at Julius Caesar, which is like a very lengthy historical drama, we're going to get into Shakespeare in a minute, but first I want you to tell me this: how'd you like get into education, and how does one go about teaching theater to kids?
Oh, how to get into education? No, I was here to say I don't know. I fell into it. No, I always joke that I was one of the first theater people who wasn't an out of work actor or an out of work director or designer that decided they couldn't do anything else, so they would teach. Because I've heard a lot of those joke stories that the theater teachers were that. Now, I knew I wanted to teach from about my freshman or sophomore year of high school. And that was the thing. I was looking for theater programs that also had education degrees behind them, like that I could get theater education, and it was a struggle for me. School doesn't come naturally easy for me. I wasn't the top kid in my class. I was somewhere in the middle. I was never a straight A student. Um, I've always struggled with certain classes. I've struggled with my focus and all. So um, I think that's what makes me more of an effective teacher, is because I've been there. There's so many teachers I know that talk about, oh yeah, the reason I became a teacher is because I always loved school, this, that, and the other. I honestly struggled most of the time in school. I didn't like to be there. I was bullied. I was picked on. I mean, my freshman year, I called home every single day during my fourth period science class, because the teacher was like, oh, he was the coach. He was like, oh, that's just what boys do. It's mostly boys in the class. There were like 24 of us in that class, mostly boys, maybe 2 girls in there. The girls kept their head down at the back of the set, in the very back of the classroom. Up until that point, I had loved science, really enjoyed science. That killed me in science, man. I was never wanted to take another science class after that. I mean, I had to for my to get out of high school. I had to in college, but yeah. And even when I got to college, like I wasn't ready. I really wasn't. I should have done something else. I should have worked before I went to college. But I went to college straight out of high school, lasted 2.5 years, dropped out, um, moved home, started working for my uncle, worked as a pressure washer. I went into restaurants when they were closed and cleaned out the hoods and washed out the hoods. You've been in a restaurant with me. If you ever notice, when we go up near a restaurant, I always look in the kitchen and look up to see what the hood looks like before I know what to order there, because I know how clean the restaurants are. Because for 6 months, 6, 7 months, maybe even 8 months, I worked cleaning restaurant hoods, and then in the summer I worked cleaning the hoods of in schools, and then we worked on construction equipment, having to drive out to construction sites, clean trucks and all, and anything in mud and all. And every day I come home, I was living with my parents. I was up at 4 in the morning every morning, not home till after 6, smelling, sweating, stinking, but working. I did that for 6 months. Then I moved back to Greensboro, moved in with a buddy of mine from college, got an apartment, and worked as a hotel night desk clerk for a little bit. And then I started waiting tables. And then I decided, finally, met my lovely wife, and I was thinking about getting back into school, and she kind of convinced me to get back in. And the rest is history. I busted my butt. I didn't win everything. I struggled. I ended up only getting a BA in theater because you had to have a 3.0, and my GPA was so low when I left, I could never bring it up to that 3.0 number to get the theater ed degree. So I did it backdoor ways. I took every single education class I could and would lie to them saying, oh yeah, I'm an education major. But it doesn't say, oh, I'm waiting for paperwork to go through or stuff. So I got all the way. I only missed 2 education classes, which were methods and student teaching. And I did everything else the BA way at UNCG. My advisors were cool and knew exactly what I was doing and helped me get everything that I needed to got out. And honestly, didn't thought I was going to have to fall into a role of going to work somewhere as either a shop carpenter or doing some technical theater work, which I've always loved. And then, like the week before school opened, after I'd graduated, got a call from a principal, and actually, because of my tech theater background, was hired to teach art and crafts, and taught arts and crafts first semester. The principal was looking to get rid of the crafts class, and I convinced the principal for second semester to let me teach those 2 crafts classes that I was going to have as technical theater. Wrote curriculum, wrote up my plans and all for how I teach tech theater. He let me teach tech theater, and then the rest is history. I've been doing this ever since. This is honestly, like I said, 17th year in teaching, and this is the longest I've ever stayed in any job in my life.
Well, see, I have this theory about life. We only get one shot, unless reincarnation is a thing. We only get one shot to do this thing right, or to do this thing admirable before we stand before God, right?
Yeah.
Spend this life doing what makes you happy, what makes you tick, what gives you some sense of fulfillment, right? Yeah, you have to work, you have to keep food on the table, you have to keep the lights on. But at some time, somewhere, you need to be doing what gives you that sense of purpose, right?
Yeah.
And I say that people like me and you, actors, theater people, who are able to stand in front of young people and be theatrical for 8 hours a day, that's a blessing. But you know who else is able to stand in front of little people and be theatrical for 8 hours a day?
Who?
I don't know if they do it for 8 hours a day, but I know that they do it for a lengthy period of time. I'll tell you who. As soon as this email loads up, here we go. I'll tell you who. Our friends, your friends and my friends at Spring Theater, Aaron Dirth and Dan Beckman. It is a youth-inspired theater founded in 2011. Spring Theater exists to empower and challenge the community to experience the energy, emotion, and adventure that springs from extraordinary theater. Chris, you know a thing or two about that. Spring Theater helps established and inspiring theater artists reach their full artistic potential through mentoring, main stage productions, theater camps, workshops, and master classes. As a result, Spring Theater's youth are confident community members who are prepared for leadership roles, including but not limited to performing, writing, directing, and staging their own productions. The family of Spring Theater fuels the creative spirit of the entire triad and beyond. You can check them out at www.springtheater.org, facebook.com/springtheater.org, springtheater.org, or the founder, Miss Erin Dirk, 336-528-5343. Hope she don't mind me put a number out there like that. If she does, then hey, don't nobody want these hands. But anyway, Spring Theater, shout out to them because they utilized me a lot last year. But back to what we were talking about, they educate kids in theater. You were saying how you educate kids in theater. What has been your experience after coming up with the curriculum after the arts and the crafts class? What has been your experience actually teaching theater to kids? Because I'll put it this way: when I was in high school, right, I had this theater person, beating at me and stuff, but I ignored it. I was like, nah, I'm gonna wear braids. I'm going to bag my pants, and I'm going to memorize every single Cash Money lyric I could possibly can. I am not going to be theater. I'm not going to be a theater person at all. Forget them theater people. They geeks. But deep down inside, I was like, I want to be one of them. How do you pull the theater out of a kid who is hiding it like that?
I don't know if you do. You just have to give them an opportunity, show them that it's a safe space, and just get them to kind of try it to begin with. You get them to try it, then you just kind of work with them, and you find whatever language they speak. And I'm not talking about like a different language, because I am typical in the American and only of American and only speak one language of people from the U.S. I should say, but like you find what relates to them, what you can talk to them about, what they enjoy, and the biggest thing is just showing them that they're wherever they're first getting into theater is that it's safe, that you're not going to make fun of them, you're not going to laugh at them, you're not going to degrade them if they make a mistake, and then also hold. Sorry, I'm doing this on my phone, so I nearly dropped my phone.
Okay.
And you also have to show that you're going to back them up. That if somebody's going to be rude or disrespectful to them, that they're not going to last in your class. That's the one rule I always tell kids that I am that will instantly get them removed from my class is that when they are disrespectful or rude to another person, um, obviously if it's being racist or homophobic or misogynistic, that's a no-brainer. That's automatically gone. But also that you're not going to just pick on somebody or be a bully. I can't I can't tolerate that. And I think that's a lot from what I went through as a kid too. Being picked on, being bullied. I laughed it off, but I think with a lot of times, as we see with a lot of people, those who laugh stuff off like that sometimes are the ones hurting the most. Um, and I found ways eventually to deal with stuff like that because I don't think it's something that we talked about. It's not something I talked about much. I think it's a changing of our world that it's becoming more acceptable that if you are have mental health problems or you have things going on that yeah you can talk to people you can but it's as a teacher it's about talking to those students finding what they're into. It's also about not being judgmental because in the same way you can be judgmental um, and try to stomp out everything that you may personally believe in, it's also being able to find ways to talk and figure out why those that would disagree with you are saying the things they're saying. Like, I know there's this big push that teachers and especially arts teachers are we're indoctrinating kids. We all have some leftist ideology and belief. But I mean, you know me, that doesn't go into my classroom. My beliefs are there, but they do not follow me, and I'm not teaching my beliefs. I'm not teaching my religious beliefs into a classroom because that's not fair. I can speak of things. I won't speak of stuff from a Jewish perspective or from an Islamic perspective. I can speak from things from a Christian perspective, but that's only where I can go religiously. Just like we were talking earlier, I can only come from a perspective as a white dude. Um, but you've got to hear it, and you've got to hear those beliefs that you not necessarily, and sometimes it's hard. There are stuff that I'm allowed, like I'm not allowed to wear anything that is makes a political statement into the classroom, as you well know. As a GCS employee, we cannot have something that makes a true political statement. There are people that skirt that
Woohoo!
law. There are people that skirt that law. Um, I mean, but I don't wear I like You know me. You know what I believe in support politically. But I never let that into my classroom. I never talk about that with my classes because that's not my place. I can tell people that I think everybody should register to vote, but you need to understand the candidates. You need to you need to have your personal beliefs and understand what you're voting for. I mean, you can't, and it changes. And the reason we're at the point we are, with people believing that teachers are indoctrinating people, is because so many of parents on a certain political side, think their kids should believe exactly like them, and then they leave home and start to learn, and some of their viewpoints change. Not all of them, but some of the times their viewpoints change, and then all of a sudden it's the school's fault.
You
I
want to
mean,
know who?
honestly, talking about this, like teaching, I had a parent one time that said that because I let their kid be in theater, that the theater turned their kid gay. I mean,
You okay? So this is what I want to tell you. This is what I want to tell you. First of all, the people who have been indoctrinating the kids are the daughters of Confederacy when they present those freaking lies talking about Columbus discovered America, knowing good and well he ain't discovered nothing. All these lies that they put in those books and stuff and present to the schools, they're all antiquated. You know what I'm saying?
oh yeah.
As far as theater turning a kid gay, let me tell you something. Okay, I don't know if you know this about my story, but I used to be super, super crazy, entirely homophobic. I used to be homophobic to the point where I was scared of gay people. If a gay person was within three inches of me, I was sweating. I'd be like, "Oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do?" But then guess what? Number one, I realized if I am going to call myself a man of God, I cannot have hate in my heart for nobody. Nobody. Number two, when I moved to Winston-Salem, I found myself going right into theater. I was like, yo, I love Cash Money, but dang it, I love theater just a little bit more. So let me get on up in this theater. And I realized, and I looked around, I was like, oh, dang, that's a lot of gay people up in here. Okay, so do I wage war against them, or do I show them that love that I'm taught to show them? Let's go with the love. We're going to ease into it, but it's going to happen. Now here I stand. I'm not homophobic really anymore. And oh yeah, also around that time, my cousin, whom I love like a sister, came out as gay, right? And now it's got to the point where if you're going to look at me and tell me that, gay people, they are in the wrong, they're committing a sin and stuff, I'm like, yo, man, that's between them and God, yo. Let them. That's like telling me that I cannot. That's like telling me that I can't hook up with chocolate black women. Lord knows I love chocolate black women. You can't tell me who to hook up with. So I ain't gonna tell anybody else to hook up with. Your life is your life. Your truth is your truth. I wasn't thinking like that back in my homophobic days.
But I think it shows that people can grow and change if they're interested in listening. And that's the thing, man. So many people just don't listen anymore. We listen to respond, we don't listen to hear. And I'm guilty of it. I know I am. Lord knows love a good argument, and I love a good debate. We've been in the car together, and we've chopped it back and forth with some discussions and all. But I think in that thing, even when either of us would get frustrated or even maybe a little bit angry, we understood that sometimes people have differences of opinions, and we have to get past that.
Yeah, like I know I have friends who were I'll go into the political spectrum. I have friends who vote for Trump, and I have friends like you who are progressive who vote for Biden. Also, I have friends like you. I mean, I have friends or know people like, well, you're not like this. You are not really a Biden person. You see Biden for the snake that he is, but you look at him and be like, okay, at least he's a snake that knows the system and stuff, so he may be better than Trump, right?
Yeah, I think I will say that I think thinking any politician is perfect means that you don't truly understand politics, and you are so focused on your party that you're always going to support them. I I will say, in the past election, yeah, Biden wasn't my first choice. Um, I I was a Kamala Harris supporter from the beginning, and even with the problems she had, like I definitely had problems with her records as a prosecutor. I understand she was doing her job. I understand that she probably needed to apologize for things, but my problem, I think, with a lot of people that were out there supporting other candidates were like when I said, "Yeah, I'm going to throw my support behind Biden because I think that he has made some terrible decisions." Um, Supported segregation early on, but that was supporting segregation in the 1960s and 70s when that was a thing. I think what people don't understand is he pushed Obama to accept marriage equality. That was not something that the Obamas were really on their radar. That was a push from Biden. But I every politician has a platform and an idea, and I have called Biden out just like I've called Cooper out, just like I've called any politician out. If you do something that I don't agree with, I'm going to say it. That's my right as an American citizen, as a citizen of the United States, that I can say what I want. Now, what it doesn't allow me to do is say whatever I want and then be free from consequences. Like I can't go on some tirade and say this, that, and the other about these people should all of a sudden be killed or jailed or whatnot, because then I should expect consequences. This You're not silenced, but like you have your right to say whatever you want. You also have to understand that there are consequences to certain things you've said. I've felt the consequences of things I've said in the past. Not holding my mouth when I probably should. Said stuff to people who are now former friends of mine. But it's kind of how life goes. I'm happy in my life now. I'm happy with the people I choose to call friends, and it's kind of how the world rolls.
Again, you got one chance to do this thing right, and let me do this again. Again, you got one chance to do this thing right, one chance, and you got to do this thing right with people who will build you. But oh, what was you about to say? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was going to say. I was going to say this is not a film. Life, you don't get to start and stop and start over and rewind and keep doing things till you get it right. Once it's out there, it's out there.
Exactly. But while you are choosing people who you live life with, I'll tell you one thing that can help you live life for a very, very, very long time. And that is what I've been drinking all night. This here alkaline water. It is black-owned water from a black-owned land. A clean, natural alkaline spring water. And I'm telling you, drinking this, it is better than any. I was going to say, it's better than any water that I bought in the store. All of them, if they catch room temperature, they taste nasty. This, it catches room temperature, it still tastes like God poured waters from heaven into my cup for me to digest. Now, if you want to get some of that live alkaline water, this Heavy Energy University, follow and contact Soul Society on at Soul Society on Instagram. Also, they're on Facebook, or go on the website heavyenergyuniversity.com/live alkaline. It's either live alkaline or live alkaline. Either way, it is the greatest water you will ever have in your entire life. That I can guarantee. I recommend you get some, Chris. Great water, great water.
I'll have to try that out, man.
Yeah, it's great water. Now we are an hour and 6 minutes in. Hope you're enjoying yourself so far.
I am.
You
I
are.
don't know how much longer I can last. I'm old.
Oh my goodness! Come on, man. You're only 8 years older than I am. That ain't much. But I know something that'll keep you up. Now, as you all are tuning into ADQ's Renaissance, I'm sitting here with my good friend Chris Veneris. We're about to talk about the Bard. We are coming to the Bard. Shakespeare. Chris, I'm going to be honest with you. When I come across Shakespeare, I'm like, oh my God, what in the world is this crazy man talking about? What? What? Was he high?
It's just words, man. It's just words. That's the problem. Everybody likes to treat it like it's... Go ahead. Sorry, ADQ.
No. Go ahead. What you got to say? Go ahead.
I was going to say, everybody tries to treat it like it's a different language, and it's not. It's theater. It's meant to be performed. If you're just going to sit down and read something, don't read Shakespeare, period. Shakespeare wasn't meant to be read. All the English teachers out there are going to kill me when I say this. Shakespeare needs to be taken out of the English classroom, period. Hands down, Shakespeare should not be taught in the English classroom. Give it to theater teachers. Make sure there's a theater teacher in every single school, or the English teacher that has also a theater degree. Otherwise, don't touch it. So much. And there are some English teachers out there that really do know Shakespeare. But for the most part, they treat it like any other dead old white guy that wrote something.
Well, Chris, I will tell you, it is through my English class how I first came in contact with Shakespeare.
And did you like it?
I put it like this. This was me in high school. I was like, "Thou goest, thy didst this, so yeah, I wasn't."
And this will actually probably break you. I did not actually like Shakespeare until I came back to UNCG after dropping out. That's when I first got to liking Shakespeare. I auditioned for main stage, got a call back for A Winter's Tale. And I went into the callback, and I just kind of let myself go. And the director came up to me. He goes, "I know you were only supposed to be at the callback between this time and this time. Do you mind staying a couple extra hours and reading for a different character?" I was like, "Sure, okay." And it ended up being a much larger role. It was the first show that I had a larger role on stage at UNCG, not just a bit part. And because of that director, a guy named Michael Campman, fantastic director. He was an MFA director, and he gave me a shot to be back on stage, and that's really where I fell in love with Shakespeare, and started wanting to do more. And then, of course, I come along and along with Matt Ringrose and Linda Veneris, we brought this idea that I had been just kind of pitching around about Shakespeare in the Park to the late Stephen Hires, who was at Drama Center at the time. He greenlit Shakespeare in the Park as a partnership between Guilford County Schools and Drama Center. Matt and Linda co-directed the first show we did, the Scottish play. And
we're not in theater. You can say the. You can say
I
it.
know I can. You know what? It's one of those things. It's like I don't believe in that superstition, but at the same time, there are a lot of theater people that do, and it's not fair for me to make them feel uneasy by saying it. Different people have different feelings on things. I'm not going to purposely break a superstition just because I don't believe in superstitions really, but yet I still say break a leg, which is a superstition before every show. And superstitions have their places. And while I don't believe in that one per se, all I'm saying is we were in the middle of that. I was in the middle of directing that show when all this COVID stuff shut down everything last March. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, and I'm going to say that I was saying, hey, this is my podcast. I was saying Macbeth up under my breath about a dozen times while we were doing Fiddler on the Roof. That means I was in Fiddler on the Roof.
Yeah. But no, I mean it's that, and then, but with the Shakespeare in the Park, it was our brainchild, mine and Matt and Linda's, and then the next year I directed As You Like It, and just kept going, and then finally I picked one show and then realized that I was going to have to be out of town for a theater conference that I have to attend, and I gave up directing Tempest, and Jenny Perky directed that one, and then Rosina, and then I directed, then I think Rosina and I tag teamed the next one, or the next two, both Midsummer and then the shortened version of Hamlet that we did. And that was the last one we did, was Hamlet.
Let me tell you what was my experience in doing Midsummer. Now, first of all, this is my little Shakespearean track, right? So I was supposed to be in Othello in a production back in 2015. I got so psyched out that I walked off. Something that I would recommend no one ever do. Don't ever do that. I was being stupid. But I walked off, and the director assumed that I quit. I was like, nah, I need to get myself together because I had psyched myself out trying to memorize all the lines and stuff. And it was awful, man. Then about 2 years, then like a year or two later, King Henry IV comes along, and I was fighting through that. I'm sure you could tell that I was fighting through that. But then I swore off of Shakespeare forever. I said, "Screw you, Bill! I'll never read your demonic works ever again." But then I was like, "Yo, screw it! I'm going to do Midsummer Night's Dream." And I don't expect to get cast or anything. I'm just going to do it. I went, did my thing. They said, "No, I'm Theseus." I'm like, "What?" They said, "No, I'm coming out at the beginning of the show, doing a dance number, quoting romantic lines with Carmen Diaz." And next thing I know, I'm like, "Oh my God, am I actually doing my thing here? Am I actually doing a good job here?" Chris seems happy. Rosina seems happy. Carmen's not really dragging me as far as performing goes. She was dragging me as far as dancing goes. So I was just sitting there. I wasn't like worried about my lines and stuff. I was in like, I don't know how many scenes, 3, 4 scenes, and I really enjoyed doing A Midsummer Night's Dream. I enjoyed King Henry IV when I knew my lines, but A Midsummer Night's Dream was really good because, for one thing, it was a great cast, great directors, great scenery, and it was great knowing, and it was great not having another Shakespeare freakout. So yeah, Shakespeare between me and Shakespeare is 2 and 2.
Cool.
But that also comes from great directors. But I will tell you this, one great thing about Shakespeare in the Park is when people mic themselves for performances, I laugh and I'm like, really? Really? During Shakespeare's days, they didn't have no mics.
No.
We don't use mics, and that's a good bunch of land that we have used for Shakespeare in the Park. And we would have to make our voices go from the stage to the back stairwell with stairs, which covers a good bit of land. That tests your performance muscles because you have to be able to carry your voice, right?
Right. And that's part of the old me. That's there are no mics. Because when I started doing theater, yeah, there were mics. They were super expensive. Nobody used them because they were too expensive, especially in a little community theater. I remember the first time they had hanging mics first, like little hanging lavalier mics that just just get sound in certain areas. And then I remember the first body mics they ever put on an actor, and an actor went back to the bathroom and forgot to turn it off. And the sound person forgot to mute it. So you heard an actor take a nice long pee with a good loud fart at the end. I tell that story to all my students when I hand them mics out for musicals. Make sure you turn off the mics because somebody might forget to mute you when you go backstage. And if we forget to mute you, we don't want to hear you go to the bathroom.
We don't want to enjoy
anything else you might say.
We don't want to hear you enjoying it. I will also say me, I'm like cocky. Whenever someone offers me a mic, I'm like, have you heard me talk? I don't need a mic.
The only reason to use mics is if you have enough for everybody, honestly, because then you can get perfect sound. And part of it is you want to help out. I joke with it all the times, but you do want to help out your elderly patrons that come to the theater and hear it. That's the reason we ended up with mics in Midsummer. Y'all didn't have body mics, but there were mics on the stage. For the performance.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, we had 3 mics on the stage for the performance so that we could get, because we had some young kids in there that could not project. They were young. They don't have the diaphragm to get their voice out. Not everybody's loud like me and you, ADQ. And so
Very true.
You still got to reach the mic though.
Very true. So tell me this, whenever I have a fellow rapper on, I'm like, who's your top 5 favorite MCs? I ask you, what's your top 5 Shakespeare plays?
Oh, that's a tough one. Romeo and Juliet's always going to be my top. It's one that I have directed and been in, and it's one that I like to go back to. I love that show. I know a lot of people crap on it. A lot of people don't like it because these kids fall in love so fast and end up causing a lot of death. But I do. I love it. Always have. Always will. Second would be. Second's changed over time. second used to be Winter's Tale, because that's what made me fall in love with Shakespeare, but it's dropped down the list. Second would probably have to be The Tempest. Love the show. Love certain characters as an actor. That one really speaks to me. I've actually never directed, but that one really speaks to me. Third would be Scottish Play. It's fun. It's bloody. It's awesome. Fourth would be Richard III, which used to be in my top 3, but it's dropped. Richard III, fun show. Also one I've directed. Love it, love it, love it. And fifth would probably be A Winter's Tale.
You know, God, I say that so much. You know, Colin Farrell and Russell Crowe were in a film called Winter's Tale a few years back, but I'm pretty sure it's not related to the Shakespeare Winter's Tale. Did you ever see it?
Never saw it, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's a nice movie. Great music. Hans Zimmer, great music. And also, if you watch all of it, you'll see Will Smith playing the devil. Yeah, cameo role though. Now, so name all your Shakespeare roles that you have done so far? Are there a lot?
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Right now I'm getting ready to start rehearsal Sunday as Charles the Wrestler in As You Like It Zoom production with Shared Radiance. I've played Charles the Wrestler previously live for the company, and also played Duke Senior in that role, that show. I've done Dogberry and Much Ado About Nothing. Winter's Tale, I played the Old Shepherd, which was the first Shakespeare show that I did that I fell in love with. Ended up having to play the Prince in Romeo and Juliet, the one that I directed, because I had to unfortunately let an actor go. Let's see. What else have I done? God, there's so many. Why am I? Stefano in Tempest, I've played that role 4 times. Played Bottom in Midsummer Night's Dream. Played Oberon twice in Midsummer Night's Dream. Played Theseus in Midsummer Night's Dream. I'm leaving out so many. ADQ.
You probably looked at me playing Theseus and said, "Amateur."
Nah. No, you did a great job with it. You did it differently, but you did a great job with it. But yeah, no, I've been doing Shakespeare all the time. Oh, I played Julius Caesar for Chauncey when he directed Caesar. Trying to think of what it seems so long ago to do live theater. So many Zoom shows, so I'm trying to think of those versus the live shows I've done.
That's why I'm behind myself, and so that's why I'm beside myself and so excited to be in Mayhem at the Masquerade, because it has been a long time since I've been in anything live.
Yep.
So
yeah.
Okay, so tell me this. You said earlier that you can take a Shakespeare play. Let's get imaginary. You said earlier that you could take a Shakespeare play and make a musical or something like that, or you like musicals because you like Shakespeare because you like musicals.
Yeah, I said that, but yeah, there are Shakespeare shows that have been made into musicals. Kiss Me Kate. Is taken from Taming of the Shrew. West Side Story is a retelling of Romeo and Juliet.
Okay.
I mean, there's others that it's almost 10
Lion
o'clock at
King?
night. It's past my bedtime, so I don't know. I'm missing it right now. Um, you say that, but I'm not joking. Since as a teacher, I'm in bed most nights by like 9:30. I don't go to sleep till like 10:30, but
Oh, well, we about to wrap.
I'm an
Yeah,
old soul. Nah, dude, I'm talking. This is your show. I'm your guest, man.
I was about to
Uh,
say,
but no, man. I'm trying to think of other things. I really can't think to right off the top. Those are the two that come to me right off the top of my head. Um, but yeah, Kiss Me Kate and West Side. I mean, West Side's such a ripoff of R and J. But they
you
even
think,
say it. They even say it is. They say it's the retelling of it. But yeah, no, Shakespeare writes in a way that you get. I mean, honestly, you could, with the way the lines are formed in a lot of his shows, get a solid beat behind it. You could rap it.
mm, you know, there's a lot of Shakespeareanism in the way August Wilson writes.
I mean, yeah, and I always hate when they refer to him as the Black Shakespeare or the American Shakespeare, but
He's
because
neither.
he's August Wilson,
Yeah.
and he is not below Shakespeare. He's not the anybody. He's August Wilson, and he's. I mean, if you're talking about great playwrights, he's on the same line to me as Shakespeare. Like August Wilson and Shakespeare are on the same level if you want to talk about playwrights.
I agree. In fact, to me, speaking as someone who loathes Shakespeare and loves Wilson, he's above Wilson, but that's just my opinion. But I know that as I grow as a playwright, I would like to implement some Wilson devices and some Shakespearean devices into the way I write, because like this day and age, a lot of playwrights would be like, "Hey, here it is, like right here at the beginning of the story, right?"
Mm-hmm.
But it's like Shakespeare will just squeeze something, squeeze something, squeeze something, every little drop of it until it finally gets to the climax.
Yeah, but you got to figure out when you're like your time frame you're writing in and the time that you have to put on a show. Shakespeare 2-3 hours, nothing. Same. I mean, August Wilson 2 hours, nothing. Nowadays, I mean, yeah, I'll sit through an Avengers movie that's 3.5 hours, but I don't know how many shows I'm sitting through anymore that are 3.5 hours because, like, I will as a theater lover, but not many people are anymore. They don't
Mm,
do it because you don't have the attention span anymore. And even that, like, I mean, it's a struggle for some people to sit through 3.5 hour films. Like tomorrow, I will be watching that Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League. And that's
I
on
do.
my agenda. It's 4 hours and 2 minutes long. And I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to sit through that? That's daunting to me. 4 hours and 2 minutes. But I'm going to give it the old college try.
Who's playing Batman in it?
It's just Snyder's cut of Justice League. So like because he directed it. So was that Batfleck? Was that Ben Affleck as Batman in that one?
I know it was.
Justice League.
I
I think
know.
so.
While I like to pretend like the whole Ben Affleck playing Batman never happened, he was Batman in the Batman versus Superman movie that never happened. In the Justice League movie that I saw, that happened that I never saw.
Yeah. So it's Justice League. It's just the director's cut, so they're calling it the Zack Snyder cut. So
Personally, I think that they should have just left it with Christian Bale. That's it. I doubt
Yeah,
it.
I honestly, I think that you're going to see a time. I think very soon you'll see not only a black Batman, but you'll see a black Superman coming in. I love the fact that these characters, just because they've always been drawn or played by white guys, doesn't mean they have to be. I know. Was listening to a story, and they were talking about that Michael B. Jordan has been talking about wanting to play Superman for a long time. Like that is his dream role.
I mean, he
Like
has a
what?
Superman workout.
Yeah. So I mean, he wants to play Superman, wants to play that role, and I think that brings our world's changing. These comics are really timeless, so why not? There's no reason you shouldn't have a black Superman, a black Batman.
Yeah, why not? Why not? The world is the world is changing. The world is opening up to include more people. The world is opening up to, put more people who are not part of the WASP culture, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, and I like it. I mean, I'm not saying that blackface in a high place equals progression for black people, but I am saying, hey, that gives me a better chance at attaining something.
Well, it's I think it's something we've got to think about in the arts community, in in politics, and everything. Um, and we were talking about it is for the first time, little black girls can look at somebody in a position of power when we talk about Kamala Harris as vice president and say, "Hey, look, that could be me." Same way, black men never had that before before Obama was elected. Not that every black man is Obama, but not that he's the one person everybody should look up to. But that was the first time. It's Black Panther did something special, but I think we can build on it. If you know what I'm saying,
Hmm.
like that for the first time. And I was reading an article where young black children were saying, I finally see myself on screen in a superhero movie, and I'm not the criminal. I'm not the sidekick. I'm the main character. I'm the whole movie. And I think we, for us to keep moving forward, not just for the sake of saying, oh, look, I'm going to make this big progressive move and put in a black guy as Superman. No, we have to show that people can see each other all the time. People can see each other backwards and forwards. Like everybody can see themselves in these superheroes that were written to kind of inspire and to tell stories. They're just stories. The race of the character is not important.
Very true. Well, Chris, as we start to wrap this up here and stuff, because you teach, I teach too, and nothing worse than a teacher who is yawning while teaching. Sometimes while I'm in class, I jokingly do this. Now, you want to put the A right there? Picture a 5-year-old saying, "Wake up!" So, if somebody wanted to like cast you in something, get some tips from you, learn. Whoa, 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 whoa! Before we go there, real quick, I gotta know this. Who's your favorite actor? Who do you try to channel when you are acting?
I I know this is going to sound pretentious as hell,
Bring it.
But I don't try to channel any other actor when I'm acting. I don't. I try to figure out who the character is and live truthfully through that character. That's what I try to do as an actor. I'm trying to, that person, whether they're a real person or not, that person is real in my eyes, and I'm trying to live their truth on stage or on film in those given circumstances that I'm surrounded. I don't try to channel another actor. My favorite actor, ooh, that truly is a tough question. My favorite actor of all time. It's bounced. Probably Al Pacino. Truthfully, um, love Al Pacino and everything he's done. Um, just thought I grew up watching a lot of Al Pacino. Dustin Hoffman's another one that I'd put right up there. Currently, if I'm watching a film or watching TV, whatever, actors that I really, really love right now. I really, really enjoy watching Will Smith. Pretty much anything Will Smith does. I've always enjoyed Will Smith since Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Grew up. It was the first rap album I ever bought. DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince with my own money. That was the first hip hop album I bought, and then I took a hard turn into Public Enemy, which is still the greatest rap group of all time. But
I can see in your character and your political stances that you got some Public Enemy lyrics going on in your soul. Yes, I can hear some Chuck D.
Yeah, Chuck D is my favorite person. My favorite hip hop artist of all time. Like, I don't think anybody ever comes close in my eyes. Now, as far as other actors, nowadays I really love. I really, really, and this could be a lot because I'm watching The Arrow. I didn't watch The Arrow when it came out, but I'm watching it now. It was quarantine. I was running out of other shows, so I started going back on stuff that now that I have the time to watch TV that I'm watching. So Stephen Amell, I think is really fun to watch. I'd like to see him in other stuff. I don't really know. There's not a ton of people that I'm just like, I have to watch this person in a film or a performance. Like, there's nobody that I'm just like, oh, I have to see them if they're in it. I will say I really do love loved, still do, Chadwick Boseman, Black Panther, but I don't know if you've seen it yet. The Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, the film version. That's my favorite. That's my favorite August Wilson show, hands down. Nothing touches it to me. Absolutely my favorite. His performance at the end, I was waiting for it because it's probably my favorite monologue, the "Your God Ain't Shit" Cutler monologue. At the end of that, it's such a powerful piece. I fell in love with that at UNCG. I was in my acting 2 class, and we all had to pick monologues. And I think the only Black guy in my acting 2 class picked that monologue and did it. And I was like, that one. Went and grabbed I ended up reading the play that night. I was like, okay, got to find that play, got to read it, and sat down and have been in love with it ever since.
I'm reading it right now, and I'm reading it right now. I'm reading that and Seven Guitars because I know that a lot of the lead roles in all Miss Wilson's joints, I can play them.
Yeah.
Boy Willie, the piano lesson. Shoot, man, I forgot to do his name. And 7 guitars, but Levy, Chadwick Boseman played them. I can do that too. So let's see what else. Can't be Troy, but I daggone sure could be. Dang now my brain's frying up. Lions, I could be Lions. So, but anyway, my favorite actor is you're looking at him. I am my favorite actor, but I do take inspiration from Denzel Washington, Samuel L. Jackson, Jamie Foxx. When Jamie Foxx is on his stuff, he is on his stuff.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks, Tom Hanks, he is just great. Morgan Freeman, he's a legend. Also, I look at the new up and coming crop, like Daniel Kaluuya. I just saw him in Judas and the Black Messiah. I seen him in Get Out. I seen him Queen and Slim. That guy is on it. That guy is on it. And Lakeith Stanfield, man, like I look at him and I don't feel so bad about these bags under my eyes. His eyes take you places. So those are my favorite actors. And oh yeah, Lawrence Fishburne. I can't sleep on Fish.
Oh yeah, I can't believe I left this one out. Totally meant to say it. Donald Glover.
See, I haven't really seen him act much. I'm familiar with his music, but I haven't seen him. And I'm familiar with his comedy, but I haven't seen him act really.
His music, that's of newer stuff, and I am not a huge fan of a lot of newer stuff. I'm getting more into it, but yeah, Childish Gambino, probably my favorite of the newer breed. Well, I guess it's not even that new now, really. But
well, he's one of the few rappers who can actually sing. Like he can sing. One thing that I liked about the new Lion King, which sucked, but one thing I liked about it was, Childish Gambino should have came in the game when the old Lion King came out. I would have loved to have him over Matthew Broderick any day.
Yep.
So, Chris, again, we don't want to be two sleepy teachers. How can people get in contact with you if they need directors, a director or writers, some Shakespeare advice? How they get a hold to you?
Best way is message is to email me. You can email me at chrisncthespians@gmail.com. That's probably the best way to get in touch with me.
I love the way you articulated that. And if any of Chris's friends are watching this, you can check me out. My email is adq4christ@gmail.com. My Twitter handle is AvenueADQ_85. I know you know what musical I named after.
Avenue Q.
Bingo. Dion Chocolate God 85 on Instagram and on Facebook. Adrian Dion Quarles, ADRIANDIONQUARLES. Please don't call a CIA on me. Also, that's my name on YouTube. Please subscribe. I'm trying to monetize off of y'all. Please subscribe. Capitalism. Subscribe. Chris, thank you so much for your time. It was great chopping it up with you.
Yes, sir. Take it easy.
You
Enjoy
too.
yourself, man. I'll talk to you later.
Likewise. Thank you again, Chris.
Later,
And
buddy.
this, my friends, has been ADQ's Renaissance. Thank you all for tuning in. Tomorrow is like the Shakespearean, it's like the monologue goes, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Justin Ross Hillard. principal of the next school, Bishop. He will be joining us. We're going to chop it up. Great game. Also Saturday, 1 p.m., Allie West. Also Sunday, 4 p.m., Carl J. Grasso. Tomorrow, Justin Bishop, Principal Justin Ross Hillard. 9 o'clock, my bad, 9 o'clock p.m. Tune in. Great word, great game. This has been ADQ's Renaissance. Thank you for tuning in. I'm ADQ. Peace. And I'm going to hit it.